Hi there, I'm David from the PPC Machine, and if you're a mortgage broker or a financial advisor who's using or thinking of using Google Ads, then you need to watch this video because I'm about to show you how you can make sure that your Google Ads get more clicks than your competitors' ads, even if you're not bidding as much as they are. So if you've been wondering how a small financial services business like yours can take on the lenders and the other big name advertisers and still come out on top, then stay tuned. So as I'm sure you know, when you advertise using Google Ads, you get to write your own adverts, and each advert consists of up to 3 headlines and up to 2 lines of description. And the content of the ad can have a big impact on how many clicks it gets. And we tend to measure how well an ad is performing by looking at something called its click-through rate. So the click-through rate, or CTR, to give it its shorter name, is simply a measure of how often your ad gets clicked versus how often it appears. So in simple terms, to keep the numbers simple, if your advert were to appear for 100 searches and out of those 100 times it appeared, it got 5 clicks, then we would say it had a 5% click-through rate. Whereas if it appeared 200 times and got 100 clicks, we'd say it had a 50% click-through rate. So basically, the higher the click-through rate, clearly the more popular your advert is, the more it's jumping off the page at people and catching their eye and making them click on your ad rather than someone else's. And it's important to get a high click-through rate for 2 reasons really. One, obviously the reason we're advertising on Google Ads is we want to get clicks. So if we're not getting clicks, okay, it's not costing us anything, but equally we're not getting the traffic to our website that we want. And the other reason why a high click-through rate is important is that it has an impact on something called your quality score. And the higher your quality score is within Google Ads, the less you're going to pay for each click. If you want to know more about quality score, I wrote a detailed article on that a while ago. I'll put a link to that in the description if you want to know more about that particular topic. Now, the thing that often surprises people is that very often you only need to make a small change to an advert to have quite a dramatic impact on its click-through rate. And in fact, there's a blog article I wrote a while ago where I show a couple of examples of this kind of thing. So like in this example here, you can see we've got 2 adverts where there's very little difference between them. The headlines are basically the same, and there's just a slight difference in the description as to which benefits and which features of the service they promote most heavily. But when those 2 ads were run over the same time period and Google automatically sends some traffic to one and some to the other and it measures the results, in that particular example, over a 90-day period, the winning ad got a click-through rate of just over 10%, and the losing ad, this one here, only got a click-through rate of just under 7.5%. So just by making those small changes in the ad copy, it meant the winning ad performed 39% better than the losing ad. So it is worth making these kind of changes and running these tests to try and get better ad copy. So what I'm going to do now is run through 10 different ways that you can improve your ads with the aim of getting those higher click-through rates. Now, I should just say not all of these methods are guaranteed to increase your click-through rate, but these are all different things that you can test out to see which ones are going to resonate best with your audience and improve the number of clicks that you get for your particular campaign. So the first and probably most important thing is to make sure that your ads are always relevant to whatever keyword you're bidding on. And the reason for that is what we want to do is ensure that when someone searches for a particular thing on Google, they see that same search term that they've typed in reflected in your ad. So in this example here, I've shown 2 adverts which came up when I searched on Google for bad credit mortgages. And as you can see, one of those ads, the top one, is far more relevant to what I searched for than the bottom one, because the top one actually says bad credit mortgages in the first headline. The second one, it's talking about adverse credit mortgages, which, okay, we know they're the same thing as people who are in or connected to the industry, but the average person in the street may not know that that's the same thing. And even if they do, if you actually talk in exactly the same language in your ad as the searcher has used with their search, they're going to feel more of a connection with your ad, even if that's only subconsciously, and so they're more likely to be drawn to your ad rather than someone else's. The second piece of advice, again around relevance, is to make your ads relevant to whatever niche you are targeting within the mortgage sector or within the financial services sector. Now, if you've watched any of my other videos or read any of my blogs, you'll almost certainly know that I'm a big fan of the idea of niching and being really specific about what kind of clients you're trying to attract with your Google Ads campaigns or any of your other marketing activities. And so if, for example, as we've got shown on the screen here, if, for example, you are targeting the niche of IT contractors, you need to make sure that your ad is actually promoting benefits which are highly relevant to that particular niche. So we've obviously got the relevance here in the headline in both these ads. They're both relevant to the idea of someone who's searched for contractor mortgages or IT contractor mortgages. But what you can hopefully see is that the top ad continues that relevance all the way through the advert, and it's talking about specific benefits which will apply specifically to the IT contractor market. So it's talking about the fact you can get a larger mortgage based on your contract day rate, and you can borrow up to 95% loan to value. Whereas the second ad, although it talks about contractor mortgages in the headline, the rest of it is fairly generic stuff that could apply to any kind of client. There's nothing in the description lines which reinforces the fact that this is an ad specifically aimed, or a service specifically aimed at IT contractors. The third thing you should make sure is that all of your ads contain really strong benefits and that they focus on the outcomes that someone gets if they use your service. Because remember, nobody actually wants a mortgage. They want the things that a mortgage gives them, whether that's, you know, a newer house or lower outgoings or whatever it might be. So all of these three example ads here have strong benefits in them. The top one there is saying no mortgage, no fee promise. That's something that's going to attract people and, you know, remove a potential objection to dealing with that broker. The second one has the clear benefit of speed. You know, you can get pre-approved in 2 minutes. And the bottom one is focusing on the outcome. If you do this remortgage, you're going to reduce your monthly outgoings. Using numbers in your ads can be a good way to make them stand out more and also make them sound more credible. So in this example here, rather than just saying we deal with lots of lenders, this particular advertiser is being very specific as saying that they have access to 155 plus lenders. And when you've got a load of ads on the screen and it's just a wall of letters, having numbers in there can just be that little thing that makes your ad just stand out a little bit more than someone else's when someone's eyes are just scanning quickly down the page. And of course, if your ad stands out more, you're more likely to get the click. In the same way, using symbols in your ads, like percentage signs or pound signs or pluses and things like that, can help make your ad catch people's eye a bit more when we're scanning through all the ads on the page. And you can see examples here where that's been done. You know, 97% of claims paid, 30k plus, yeah, with the pound sign and the plus in those life insurance and pension ads there. Something else which people often overlook, but which can be a really simple and effective way to increase your click-through rate, is to use title casing throughout the ad. And what I mean by title casing is to write it like the title of a book or a film or whatever, where you capitalize the first letter of every major word. And that can just help make the ad stand out a bit more. So this sentence here, which does have title casing, is probably going to stand out more than this one here, which doesn't, purely because we've capitalized the first letter of each word. And I have run tests before where I've had two ads with identical words in them, and the only difference is I've done title casing in one and not in the other, and the one with title casing has usually got a slightly higher click-through rate. And so, but as with all these things, it's not going to work every time for every person, but it's certainly something that you should test and see whether with your particular audience it does make a difference. But in most cases I've tested it in, title casing does increase the click-through rate. Always make your ads client focused, so talk about the client and the benefits that they get, and talk about the things which are important to them, rather than banging on about what a great mortgage advisor you are and how experienced you are and that kind of stuff. So you can see the difference with these two ads here, that in the top one it's all about the broker. It's talking about the fact that the broker is friendly and trustworthy, and it's saying that what you should do is find out more about their services. Whereas the bottom one is more client-centric. So it says we search for whole market, but then the rest of it is about the client. to find the best deal for your investment property. Free expert advice to guide you through your buy-to-let journey. Actually, there's a typo in there. It should say you, to guide you through, not you're through. But it's still talking about the client and what they get out of it. That's the main focus of that bottom ad, whereas the focus of the top ad is all about the broker and how great they are. Something else you can do in your ads to just make them a little bit more relevant to what someone searched for is to use the display URL effectively. So where the address of your website appears in the ad, you have the option to put what's called a path on the end of it. So if your website was greatmortgages.com, it would always have greatmortgages.com in your advert, but then if you want, you could put /bad credit on the end of that, for example, if you were running an ad that was targeting bad credit. Or if you had a domain name that didn't have the word mortgages in it, like it was abcfinancial.com or something like that, you could put abcfinancial.com /mortgages /contractors to make it relevant to a search for contractor mortgages. If you've got any kind of guarantee that you can offer, then including that in your ad will make it more attractive and again will help differentiate it from all the other ads which potentially don't have a guarantee in. So you can see an example there. Guaranteed 100% satisfaction guarantee and a guarantee that they're going to find you an advisor in just 1 minute. And then the final thing that you can try as a way of increasing the click-through rate is to include some kind of call to action in your advert. Now you can't be as blatant as saying click here, but you can put other things in there to encourage someone to click. So like in this example here, we've got see our reviews and apply today. That's a call to action. Other things might be get your free quote or find out how much you could borrow. They're all things that give people a reason to click the ad, but without being quite as blatant as saying click our ad. And again, in some cases, just doing that can be enough to increase the click-through rate. So I hope that's given you some ideas for things you can try out in your own ads to increase the number of clicks that they get. If you want even more inspiration for what to put in your adverts, I've produced a free Google Ads swipe file showing 46 examples of different mortgage related Google Ads, and I've said what makes them good or what makes them not so good. So if you want to grab a copy of that, it's totally free. There's a link in the description of the video. Just click through to that and you can get your copy of that guide to get yourself even more ideas. Thanks very much for watching. If you've got any questions or comments, leave them down below and I'll see you again soon.